Michael Irvin, you played the position. Keyshawn played the position. Your reaction to this situation?
Yeah, this is interesting, and I love that he started out saying that, you know, we're in the business of running towards the issues and not from the issues. And it's about not just, I just talked about what Deion does. He uses the game to bring the best out of these men, and that's what he just said. And I can appreciate that, him saying that, and he's right. I told you guys here when I was there visiting, you know, Fredo Roberts, one of my best friends, and I'm there, Mike Tomlin, and we were talking about George Pickens. We were talking, and he was saying to me then, we got to make him a complete wide receiver. Not just a big guy, go make the big catch. You got to become a complete football player, a complete wide receiver. And I talked about it in the terms of him running the whole route tree, but he really meant it in terms of being mature all the way around. You remember when Ben Roethlisberger got on Mike Tomlin about losing some of that Steeler way? And I was confounded by it, dumbfounded actually. Man, Mike Tomlin has been doing, you know, he has a team. His defense always shows up and play. Yeah, they're struggling on offense. They made some changes over there, but he's still finding ways to win football games. Never had a losing season. But if you really wanted to point it out, they still played defense and tried to run the ball. They just didn't have the pass game they had with Big Ben. And Key, you pointed out to Big Ben, you got to take some blame. They held on to you too long, too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Couldn't even get to that. But the core of it all was this right here. The one thing you never saw. One thing you never saw was a Pittsburgh Steelers receiver that didn't lock horns on the block.
Well, in fact, the flip.
Hines Ward.
That's what I was going to say. Hines Ward's the flip side of that.
The best in the world to ever do it. I don't think you've ever seen a receiver that blocked harder than Hines Ward, that carried it like Hines Ward. And that's what Ben, I'd imagine, talking about. Now, these kinds of situations coming up. What's so hard about it, Key, is this is so easy to remedy. Sometimes when I look at it like this makes it look like, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I ain't get the passes I want. I ain't get the balls I want. I'm just going to stand here. Because on a play like this, what do, Key? We will run that defense. We'll run him off in the end zone because he has to follow you on the fade route. That's what we were sitting here talking about. Why, if you're not going to run him off, why wouldn't you run him off and why would you stand like that? Maybe I'm just mad I didn't get enough passes. I don't know, but I know I have sat out like that somewhere wide, not in that situation, but upset I didn't get passes. And you heard Mike Tomlin say, be quiet, what you're asking about, what you're talking about if you ain't playing because somebody going to call you out. And that's basically what he's saying here. So I'd imagine he must have said something about wanting some passes, and now he's getting called out.
I can guarantee you, without looking at any film, Michael, all 155,000 catches, whatever number of plays you played, I can go through every single play. If I can guarantee you didn't do that, even though you were not a willing participant in the blocking game. Well, you didn't stand there and wait for Emmitt Smith to be hit by another.
And it's dangerous. That's very dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous because
they run
you
right
got
up
a
your
third
back.
body on him, hitting him. Anything can happen. He can lose the football. He can get hurt. You're talking about George Pickens talking about his injury, and he can get hurt. Jalen Warren could be the one getting hurt.
Absolutely.
Because that third body now has a free run at him. And now if he hits him a certain way, anything could happen. I don't like it. It's embarrassing to me.
Right.
I understand.
Dispel one thing, he's not worried about himself getting hurt because this is the worst thing you can do if you're George Pickens. If you're somebody, This is the worst thing you can do if you're worried about getting hurt. It's the last thing you should do. That's what I'm saying. He's lying. He's not. I won't call him by life. He's disingenuous. He's not telling us the truth. There's no way you did this if you're worried about getting hurt. You get out of there because that's where you can get hurt the most.
What you do when you want to be a willing participant, Skip, in the blocking game, you lock on. You drive him, you turn him, you put your hands inside, and you control him in any way. And then if an offensive lineman is going to run up your back, you let him go and tightrope the thing. It's not that difficult. being willing to do it. I did it my entire career at the highest level.
He doesn't have to be as physical as you were. He can do it with finesse and technique that you're talking about. Right.
Absolutely. It's a lot of different ways to block. I love being physical at the point of attack and trying to dominate a guy and laughing at him and stepping over him. That was something.
He loved to be physical on bang eights.
On bang eights.
That's what I'm saying.
But the technique he just gave you in the block, all right? You got to put them hands inside. Now, a lot of guys do it, but what they don't do is the second part he gave you. You got to continue to drive. So as long as you got your hands inside to continue to drive, they'll never be able to snatch away and see a pull. But those guys they'll hold up and try to stand there, and then the DB will pull away, and you'll see the jersey. And that's the other side that they don't do, Key. You do. I know it. I ain't necessarily do it, but I know it.
I actually thought that was you in uniform for a minute. But what people are saying, Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh, what's going on? I get it. He's the head coach. But the persons who control the offensive side of the ball, the offensive coordinator and the position coach.
Has to be all over.
Okay? They got to be all over that in film study to let them know. The young man Johnson against Cincinnati, he stood around and watched the ball just bounce around.
He did.
That's on the receiver coach to get in his tail to let him know, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
You cannot do that. And then as far as he's talking about Tank Dell being injured, when Tank Dell went inside on the motion to block the safety, all he had to do was stay up, keep his feet moving. He stopped. So therefore, you're going to get rolled up.
He got rolled.
That's what it is. It's all effort, man. It really, truly is. And if you can do both, block and catch, how much money you going to make then?
There you go. George Pickens' problem is he's playing in a blue-collar town for a team with a tradition of physicality on both sides of the ball. Hines Ward took it a little too far occasionally, but he would knock your block off as an undersized receiver. George Pickens has all the talent in the world. We have seen highlight catch after catch. We've also seen some really bad body language from him because he will pout at the drop of a football or a hat or a helmet, and he'll go sit and sulk on the bench, and you just don't love it because he's becoming a victim of the position you guys played. It's a dependent position. You cannot control your fate. And unfortunately, it's the only position in your sport that is close to being NBA superstardom, because only at your position can you create a highlight that measures up to an NBA highlight. It's the only position in pro football and football in general where you can create a highlight, because you have opportunities to go up and make plays that equal what LeBron can do on a big slam or any sort of job play. You can do that, and it will explode and go viral all over the internet. The problem with it is the position makes you crazy, because you have one day like that. You have one catch like that, and everybody, you go on social media, which is the biggest mistake you can make to start with, but you say, you're better than Ja Morant. You could play in the NBA. And the next day, you don't get a ball thrown to you for whatever reason. The quarterback has a bad day, he gets sacked. You always say, you have the greatest expression, you have to depend on 11 people, including the guy who's calling the plays, because if he doesn't call your number, you're not going to get the football. So it makes you crazy. It makes you... It's the dependent position where you're saying, I want to control my fate. And Mike Tomlin is saying he did this press conference to speak publicly to George. I'm sure he spoke to him behind closed doors. But he wanted everybody to know, when you're losing, you better keep your damn mouth shut. That's what he said. And that was it. And I love Mike Tomlin, but he laid down the early law to a young receiver who has all the ability, as you know, in the world, who has to figure out how to cope with the bad days when you don't get the football.
And he's saying, stop talking about what you want to do in the passing game until you show me you're going to be a complete player and do this. I call it the most independent dependent position in the world. So there is a dichotomy that resides within all of us. It's a natural. We're standing out wide all by ourselves, but we can't do nothing with those other dudes. Even though we're out here all by ourselves, it's a crazy position to play.
You know, it is crazy. It makes you crazy.
It's crazy. The best thing that ever happened to me is in college because I had John Robinson.
I love John Robinson.
JR was coming from the Rams.
Yeah.
What did the Rams do? They ran the football
like crazy with ED.
I naturally became a blocker with Tony Baselli. That was my offensive left tackle, learning how to block from him. But then I get Parcells and Todd Haley and Charlie Weissnell, and it's like a dog looking for tricks. And then all of a sudden you get the trick and they just gonna give you a little nibble.
Treat.
You know, a treat. A treat. Yeah. And they gonna give you a little nibble and you're like, oh, okay, that nibble good. Let me go block. Then you get a big bone and you chew on that big bone. And then the next thing you know, they give you a couple more catches. And then, like you say, Skip, I might go a game or a half or two where I'm not getting the football enough. So now I have to take that energy, switch it around, and go dominate that defender at the point of attack.
Yeah.
They get a little bone here the next time out. That's how. And so you got to take that mindset that you're not going to get 10 catches a game.
No.
But there's other ways to dominate a game and performance. That's why I always tell you, I'll put my film up with anybody's every single game. May not be catches, but I promise you, you ain't going to see no loafs. You ain't going to see none of that.
I've always been proud about that.
You got to do it. You got to do it, though, Michael.
I mean, proud for about that. And when we told you about the spat we got into, it was way back in the day. First day, so let's go to film. I'll put my film up against anybody. I go in there and I block. And he does. I had to cool it down on that. I said, okay, you're right. It is. I am not there. I just don't do. But there are also things you can help. Like Norv used to try to talk to me like, what is so funny? I talked Norv Turner. I talked to him the other day too. It's my guy. He called me the other day. We were talking about the thing with the quarterback with Russell Wilson. With Russell Wilson. So he called me and talked about it. But anyway, Norv used to always tell me, he said, Michael, if I design some blocks, you go in here, can I then come back? I maybe come back and design your pass play off of it. He was trying to sell it to me this way.
It's true.
Okay, go in here.
Yes,
I'm going to get you the faker block. Come back. I said, Nora, just design the pass play. Don't put me through all that part.
But you don't have to be.
I understand.
But you don't have to be a rock waller on every single play.
And I'm just saying,
I just go and flash in front of a dude. He going to move now. I can go up top.
Right. And I'm just saying it now to help them try to help ways to get to George Pickens. Maybe you could tell him, if you come in here and do some blocking, we'll design a pass play off this soon. That's what Norv used to try to work me on. And I would go in there for a block and wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Where's that pass play coming? Where's that pass play coming? And it never really came. I just had to deal with it. But yeah, that's you don't want to, and that seems like he was upset about something, and that's what pisses me off. You know, even though you're upset, this is still, even though I'm upset, I can just run him off. Run him to the back of the end zone. This is a touchdown, also, and we're struggling on offense. Everything has got to get pointed out right now.
Everybody's thinking about what he did, right? They're not thinking about Jalen Warren. So I'm just telling you. I've been in a position when somebody didn't block for me, and I got the you-know-what knocked out of me, and I had, you talk about on the sideline and in the locker room, the play happened in the first quarter.
It did.
By the time, and it stayed with me till I got to halftime, and when I got in the locker room, they had to separate me from the receiver because I went at him to let him know. You damn near ended my career because you loafing instead of going at it the way you need to.
Good point.
That's important, man. That's so important.
I can make a case this is a career turning point for George Pickens. You know, is it which way you want to go? Which way you want to go? Because you got called out by your coach, and to your point, a bunch of teammates were looking side-eye at him after that game.
You can't do that.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.